Hello everyone and welcome back to Franken Rotor. I'm sorry I haven't posted a video in quite a while, but I wanted to make a video on why the Empire today is more powerful than you think of it, and why it chose to land on the RimWorld as opposed to one of its other sites. For starters, some introduction. To those who don't know about the Empire, it's a group of interstellar refugees who have ultra technology, the highest level of technology before becoming an Archotech, who do have the highest level of technology. They brought here from some calamity. It was originally mentioned as an invasion, but now it could be some kind of bioweapon, and it's unknown if the invasion is still canonic. They have the most advanced technology. Their noblemen have psychic powers, and they're the only ones, probably in the universe, due to those psychic powers, that have persona weapon manufacturing capabilities, and I'll get to that later. For starters, the Empire is interstellar. Unlike Admiral Primer mentions that most systems that try to create a multi-planet system empire failed, and that's because interstellar travel times are simply too long to make a multi-system empire. The empire has partially succeeded. There's very likely that this whole canonic invasion collapse was caused by them and fighting after the interstellar system collapsed. So yeah, the Emperor is the highest ranking person, but the highest person you'll see in game is the Stellarch. Alright, introductions aside. The Empire is far more powerful than you think because it only has more or less one threat of enemy. For starters, the Empire likely works on a, nobility system where there are three kinds of people. The main, the soldiers, and the noblemen. The main people are the bulk of the laborers who do things like mine plasteel, who grow food, although likely with glitter world methods and not traditional growing food, manufacture ultra-tech supplies, and etc. The soldiers are the ones who are actually doing the fighting, put themselves highest at risk, and the noblemen are the ones who command. For starters, I'll start to say that knight is likely the highest ranking soldier that you can be, because a knight, its description is a person who has mostly passed their training but has yet to ascend to higher leadership roles. This makes sense. So what I'm getting to at is more or less that the Empire is actually far more populous and far more powerful than you think. In one as part of this, proof of this, the end game, what's it called? Royal Ascent quest. Ending description says you can focus on enjoying the ultra luxuries as if there's no threat at all, because there isn't one. The only potential threat is the mechanoids and the ground. And if you're not jockeying for political power, then the ground thing is purely for show. They can probably mine, they only go on the ground to collect resources of raw materials, mostly in terms of metals, to continue expanding their ships and building more men again so that they can hopefully escape. But their threat is mechanoids, and the mechanoids, as I mentioned in my last video, are far more powerful than you think in our Space Force as well. This is confirmed in my last video, I think, and is also confirmed by the fact that they land their drop pods. Those could have been from the ground, but they have a high chance of being from space, and also there's crashed ship parts. Given the fact that they're also in a Space Force, the Empire likely spends their time waging war against the mechanoids. But why is that? Well, the main thing of the royalty deal and DLC trailer is that it's mechanoids and the Empire. The Empire fights the mechanoids because the mechanoids are capable of producing Archotech artifacts. Silent neuroformers are probably used in the creation of their apocrytons. The unstable cells are obviously very valuable for noblemen colonies. And what else is there? They probably have several other psychic abilities. On normal worlds that aren't the Rim world, as I said, Archotech artifacts are probably a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence that you're very lucky to ever witness, much less even hold or use. On the Rim world, they're far more common because mechanoids produce them. Why? Probably for the storytelling as the control thing as part of my later series. But for now, the Empire fights against them, doesn't just defend themselves from them, but actively wages war against them to collect these artifacts. This is likely the only method by which they have enough silent neuroformers for all of their nobles people. Noble people? Whatever. The noble people are, of course, getting silent neuroformers, and some of them, not the particularly likely up to the knight rank, are laborers that spend their time producing persona weapons. And this is why legendary, good traded persona weapons are some of the rarest items, even for an endgame colony. Because A, you have to be a noble person of presumably sufficient rank. Probably the silent level 2 to 3 is necessary. Then you need to have a creative inspiration. Then you need to be lucky and get yourself a weapon. Of course, the version of your version of good traits is variable, but generally it's skill focused as some part of it, and freewheeler. But those are the two best traits to have. After this point, this is why they're so rare. The Persona weapons can't be manufactured by anybody else because only the RimWorld's Empire has the psychic powers necessary to develop them, which proves that they're, again, a functional society that doesn't need to worry about their safety, save for the few Mechanoid drop pods that punch in through their ship's holes and attack them. It's the ground force is likely merely a resource gathering team, and they're the only reason they have to run around collecting on the ground at all to collect those resources. In the endgame quests, you can detect that they're dealing with large threats because they're paying you in thousands of raw materials. If you've reached a truly endgame colony point, you can be offered upwards of like 6,000 plasteel at a time. But the point is still that the Empire maintains the ground force and transport resources from ground to space using their shuttles, which is why using a shuttle is so expensive in game. You have to be either a nobles person within the Empire and purchase a shuttle for a very hefty price, and government-owned, like a noble court-owned shuttles are likely used for transporting resources. And for a person who is outside of the Empire but has nobility, you, the player, a shuttle is difficult to get. But once you get inside the game, you can probably actually just pay and buy for a shuttle, and then do whatever you want with it, transport around. Point is that political power is more or less a measure of how much you've done up to like the count rank. Because past the count rank, you need to have some genuine like useful leadership skills to actually get to the count rank and past it, and forget about trying to get to consul or stellar rank. Point is that the ground force measures your nobility by how much you're donating. While in-game, this is only present through golden prisoners. Prisoners likely to turn into more members because they're looking for more people to recruit into their ranks. The Empire has few people, after all, even after all this time. Whilst the gold is likely used for the nobleman's prestige armor, and gold is likely also intertwined with Eltex to make Eltex gear, again, an Empire-only trade secret. In addition, in canon, they probably can trade things like plasteel, uranium, normal steel, and advanced parts, ship pieces, and probably some technologies, although not all of them. Since they're literal, they're definitely capable of producing the advanced technologies, although on a small scale. You can trade these items for noble honor as well, in addition to... Get out of here, flies. And that... In addition to what's it called, Archotech artifacts for particularly silent Neuroformers most likely, but they probably accept other artifacts, to gain yourself royal honor, which is then measured as how much work you've done for the noble court system. Once you become a part of the Empire, there's 4 more titles to gain: Duke, Consul, Stellarch, and Emperor. While Emperor is never obtainable, Stellarch is very scarcely obtainable. Consuls likely vote for the Stellarchs, but they're technically obtainable, but they do own planets, and there's likely only like 2 or 3 Stellarchs that are sharing hold of this planet, while Dukes own moons, and there are definitely a few moons, but they also probably own like a megaship fleet, which don't exist anymore. There's just far less holdings for the Empire, which means that the ranks are no longer handed out as they used to be. Now have to do far more noble things for the Empire, such as protecting their Stellarch for them, to truly gain access to the higher ranks. Point is, the Empire, despite being on the RimWorld, is still a high-functioning society that's still the most powerful unit, that if they wanted to, could probably still obliterate the world. Think about it. What are those peasants going to do if the Empire truly started attacking them with their orbital bombardments? And excluding the orbital bombardments, like combining orbital bombardments with a few cataphracts, or triggering the mechanics to attack the tribespeople the same way that you do with your poor noble folk, immediately results in your success. If the Empire truly wanted to, they could probably colonize the world. But the thing about this is that it ties again into my old theory, where the Stellarch is purposely acting against controlling the entire Empire. He likely can't, for some reason, because of the mechanoids. They're a perpetual threat that will never be exterminated, as I said in my last video. But the Empire likely also does part of this, which is why they're enemies to one another, but they're not enemies. I want to truly kill one another. If the Empire was on the verge of extinction, then the mechanoids would likely not finish them off. But also the fact that the they don't control the world because I'll get to it later in the next video. Alright, this just explains that the Empire is, even though it's old and even though it's ruined, still a high functioning society. They're still very powerful and very capable of wiping out the world if they do. But the Mechanoids stop them, and the Mechanoids are their only threat. Safety is never a concern aboard them unless you're trying to get noble ranks, in which case, yeah, worry about safety, especially your safety. But otherwise, you're safe in the Empire. Soldiers likely never see that much actual action, aside from when they're deployed. In terms of ship-to-ship combat, that's likely more soldiers, but whatever. Point is, you're not likely to die in the Empire. You have a far lower chance of dying in the Empire than you do on your colony, at least. Which is, to be honest, these ships in the royalty background alone, you can see them. They're massive and they're still functional. I've dissected their anatomy, so let me show you here. This part right here, like this tip over here, this top that's supposed to be over here but doesn't exist, it's hidden back here but there's another tip here, are all thrusters. This right here is likely the rings for the nuclear reactors and docking bays, and the bulk of it right here is likely where the ships live and the actual processing of resources happens. Alright, so finally, this is where I wanted your guys' help. I wanted to mostly dissect the royalty image, and I want to find somebody who can help me, either Blender 2D animation or 3D animation, or just general drawing programs, help me draw the ships that are present up here in their original glory. I want to, well, hopefully this isn't copyright, but I want to build a version of the RimWorld in which the Empire is actually the most powerful faction, takes over the RimWorld, and then everybody's happy again. But the Empire likely is capable of producing everything, save for things like antigrains, which require particle accelerators to be constructed. But, more or less, that's it. The Empire is also much stronger than you think, much stronger than the wiki and the trailer gives them credit to be. Alright, that's all I have to say for this video. I hope you had a good time listening, and let me know if you have any serious suspicions as to if I'm wrong or why I'm wrong, aside from just we're told to by their description. Alright, well, good night or good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is for you.